Most people over 50 are unknowingly going to bed with a brain that's running low on the exact compounds it needs to repair itself overnight. Not because of disease, not because of genetics, because of a gap in their diet that almost nobody talks about, and that a small handful of walnuts can actually begin to close. That's not a sales pitch. It's physiology. And once you understand what your brain is actually doing while you sleep, the walnut connection makes complete sense. Your brain is not resting at night. It's working. During deep sleep, it flushes out metabolic waste, consolidates memories, repairs damaged neurons, and rebalances chemical signals. This process depends heavily on raw materials, specific fats, antioxidants, and compounds that your brain needs to have on hand before that repair window opens. If those materials aren't available, the process is incomplete. After 50, two things change. First, your body becomes less efficient at absorbing and converting certain nutrients. Second, the brain's demand for protective compounds actually increases, because oxidative stress accumulates faster and inflammation becomes harder to control. So the gap between what your brain needs and what it's getting quietly widens. Walnuts are one of the most nutrient-dense foods you can eat specifically for brain health. Not because they look like brains, that's just coincidence, but because of their actual biochemical composition. They contain a combination of omega-3 fatty acids, polyphenols, melatonin, magnesium, and vitamin E that very few other foods deliver together in a single source. Let's start with the omega-3 side, because this is the one most people underestimate. Walnuts are the only tree nut that contains a meaningful amount of alpha-linolenic acid, which is a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. Your brain is roughly 60% fat by dry weight. A large portion of that fat is DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, which is the structural fat embedded in your neuron membranes. DHA keeps those membranes fluid and flexible, which directly affects how fast and cleanly signals travel between neurons. After 50, DHA levels in the brain tend to decline unless you're consistently replenishing them through diet. Low DHA is associated with slower processing speed, memory gaps, and increased susceptibility to neuroinflammation. Your body can convert some alpha-linolenic acid into DHA, though the conversion rate is modest. Still, regular walnut consumption has been shown in multiple clinical studies to measurably improve cognitive function, particularly in memory and processing speed in older adults. Now add the polyphenol layer. Walnuts contain some of the highest concentrations of polyphenols found in any nut. These are plant compounds with potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. In the brain, oxidative stress is a constant challenge. Neurons produce free radicals as a byproduct of normal metabolism, and those free radicals can damage cell membranes, mitochondria, and DNA if antioxidant defenses can't keep up. Polyphenols help neutralize that oxidative damage. They also suppress certain inflammatory signaling pathways that, when chronically activated, have been linked to accelerated cognitive aging and increased risk of neurodegenerative disease. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition, Health, and Aging found that adults who regularly consumed walnuts had significantly better scores on cognitive tests compared to those who didn't, even after controlling for other lifestyle variables. But here's the piece that makes the timing, specifically before bed, clinically relevant. Walnuts naturally contain melatonin, not in a supplement dose, but in a biologically active form that your body can actually use. Eating walnuts has been shown to raise blood melatonin levels in humans. Melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone. Inside the brain, it acts as a powerful antioxidant, one of the few molecules that can cross into the mitochondria of neurons and protect them from oxidative damage at the cellular level. It also plays a role in regulating immune activity in the brain. When you eat walnuts before bed, you're providing melatonin at the exact time your brain's nighttime repair processes are beginning. That's not incidental. That's timing working in your favor. Then there's magnesium, which doesn't get nearly enough credit in these conversations. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzyme reactions in the body. In the brain, it regulates NMDA receptors involved in learning, memory, and synaptic plasticity. It also helps regulate HPA axis activity, which governs your stress response. When magnesium levels are low, which is common in adults over 50, the brain becomes more reactive to stress signals, sleep quality deteriorates, and cognitive performance drops measurably. A single ounce of walnuts, roughly 7 whole walnuts or about 14 halves, provides approximately 11% of your daily magnesium requirement. 3 walnuts won't fully close a magnesium deficit on their own, but combined with a diet that includes other magnesium-rich foods, they contribute meaningfully to the total. Vitamin E is the final piece worth covering. Walnuts contain gamma-tocopherol, a form of vitamin E that has particularly strong anti-inflammatory activity in neural tissue. This is different from the alpha-tocopherol found in most supplements. Gamma-tocopherol can neutralize certain reactive nitrogen species that alpha-tocopherol cannot, which makes it uniquely valuable for brain protection. So what does this look like in your body overnight? Practically speaking, you eat 3 walnuts about 30 to 45 minutes before bed. The fats and fat-soluble compounds begin absorbing through your digestive system. Melatonin levels in your blood rise modestly. Magnesium availability increases. As you move into deeper stages of sleep, your brain initiates the glymphatic process, a cleansing system that becomes most active during slow-wave sleep and physically flushes amyloid proteins and other waste products out of neural tissue. The antioxidant compounds from the walnuts are circulating during this window. The omega-3 fatty acids are available for membrane maintenance. Magnesium is supporting the quality of slow-wave sleep itself. None of this is dramatic or instant, but done consistently over weeks and months, it creates a cumulative effect on brain health that shows up in measurable ways, in memory recall, mental clarity, mood stability, and cognitive resilience. There's a study worth mentioning here from UCLA, where researchers analyzed data from over 4,000 adults using the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. Those who consumed walnuts regularly scored significantly higher on cognitive function tests than non-walnut eaters across all age groups, but the effect was most pronounced in adults over 60. The walnut consumers showed better memory, faster processing, and stronger concentration. Diet wasn't the only variable they controlled for, but the association was consistent. Now, are there things to be aware of? Yes. Walnuts are calorie-dense. A full ounce is around 185 calories. 3 walnuts, not a full ounce, brings that down significantly to around 75 to 80 calories. That's a modest addition to your evening, not a caloric problem. But if you're managing weight carefully, it's worth being intentional about portion size. Walnuts also contain phytic acid, which is an anti-nutrient that can mildly reduce mineral absorption. Soaking walnuts for several hours before eating them reduces phytic acid content and may improve digestibility, particularly if you have a sensitive gut. This is optional, not required. If you're on blood thinners, particularly warfarin, the vitamin K and omega-3 content of regular walnut consumption is worth discussing with your prescriber, simply to make sure it fits your treatment plan. This is not a reason to avoid walnuts, it's a reason to have a brief conversation. And of course, if you have a tree nut allergy, walnuts are not the right food for you. For everyone else over 50 who is not in that category, this is one of the most evidence-backed, low-cost, low-effort additions you can make to your nighttime routine for long-term brain health. To put it practically, buy raw or lightly roasted walnuts, not the heavily salted commercial varieties. Store them in the refrigerator or freezer if you buy in bulk, because their high fat content makes them go rancid at room temperature faster than most nuts. Rancid walnuts smell sharp and bitter. Fresh walnuts have a mild, slightly earthy flavor. The difference is easy to detect. Eat 3 of them. 3 whole walnuts, not 3 halves. 30 to 45 minutes before you go to sleep. You don't need to combine them with anything special. They work on their own. Give it 4 to 6 weeks before you judge the results. Brain health changes are not overnight. They accumulate. What you're doing by adding this habit is narrowing the gap between what your aging brain needs and what it's actually getting, consistently, night after night. The broader principle here is worth stating clearly. The brain is not a passive organ that simply declines with age. It responds to input. It responds to the quality of sleep, the presence or absence of key nutrients, the level of oxidative stress it has to manage, and the consistency of the signals it receives from your body. Giving it 3 walnuts before bed is a small input, but it's a targeted one. And targeted inputs, repeated consistently, matter. You don't need a complicated supplement protocol. You don't need an expensive intervention. In many cases, you need to understand what your body is doing during the hours you're asleep, and make sure it has what it needs to do that job well. That's what this is about. And there you have it. Take this knowledge and take control of your health. Thank you for watching.